This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, City of Davenport, Tuesday, September 17, 2019, and we are in the book room at the Fairmont branch of the library. Just for those who are not here physically, we have by remote Malavika Shwakandi, Matt Casillas, Amanda Motto, and Maggie Motto. And just in case there's anybody who isn't on the web and can't see us, we have here physically Tom Engelman, Judy Lance, myself, Steve Emming, and Craig. Yes, okay. So call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda. I appreciate it.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, next item is public with comment. Seeing and hearing no one, I'll pass on that. Next item, report and communications for the Friends. Laura isn't here today, and actually the Friends did not have a quorum, so they didn't have a meeting.
I can provide a little
Okay,
bit of update.
Amy has a few little updates.
The capital campaign, we did receive a $25,000 donation from Mid-American. Steve was there for the check presentation, which we appreciate. $15,000 from Wells Fargo, and that is for this year, so we'll be able to reapply in next year. Cobham contributed $5,000 to the project, and again, we'll be able to apply to them next year. So we are standing right at about $618,000 that we raised. And then the Friends are also getting ready to send out an annual report to all their membership and to whoever else everybody we've contacted who is on our list for a capital campaign or whatever, to kind of get the word out. Easy to understand way about what the Friends do.
Okay. Yes, and I did ask also about the possibility, ask Greg Thies of Mid-American about the possibility of applying again. And he said that they meet quarterly, but he said he couldn't say no. So.
Yeah.
Can't say no.
I said we certainly wouldn't ask quarterly, but
Why not?
I had in mind that we might do that, ask again next year sometime. Anyway, we hopefully have an opening there also. Okay. Committee reports. I guess maybe I should ask any questions about the Friends.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Committee reports. Finance, anything, Tom?
I was just glancing at the budget report. Looked good. I mean, 16% into the year, our expenses are at that point or less. So looks like management is being careful with spending money.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Personnel, Matt or Maggie? Or excuse me, Matt or Amanda?
Yeah, this is Amanda. You guys probably all saw I sent out the board surveys for Amy's evaluation recently, and I'm hoping to get those back by the 27th. You can either send those to me or to Matt, whichever's easiest. I'm sorry? Not sure if I lost you guys there for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bird surveys are out. Amy, I've also sent some communication to you. I think we're going to get some updated goals from you, or updated progress on the 2019 goals. That's pretty much where we're at this point, and I think we'll move forward with the evaluation at the next October meeting.
Okay.
That's the plan at now.
Okay, thank you. Suzanne, I would have a reminder that Amanda and Matt would like to have the surveys back, if I recall, by the 27th of September.
I'm sorry, mine's cutting out a little bit. Did you say the end of September 27th is when we were hoping to get them back?
Yes, thank you. Okay. And then personnel advocacy, Malavika, do you have anything to report?
Oh, hello all. September is Library Card Sign Up Month, and we had our DPL members, staff members coming over to Ambrose for our Club Fest when we had the Welcome Week. So we had a library sign up at that time. And tomorrow evening, 6 to 7, we will have DPL staff at St. Ambrose Library again for library card sign up. They have been invited by our assistant library director at Ambrose. So I'm looking forward to having Brittany over at St. Ambrose Library for library card sign up. That was one. And two, this Saturday, September 21st, Riverbend Food Bank Mobile Pantry will be at Fairmont for their second mobile pantry. So I will be there to help as a volunteer, and they're looking forward to serving their guests at Fairmont at the mobile pantry. That was all from me.
Okay. Do you know, does the food need volunteers?
She did not say anything. I did ask her a question. She didn't say anything, but maybe I will pursue that again. How? What do you think, Steve? Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, I'll check with her again
This Saturday. Yeah, the
this
21st.
Saturday, and they come at 9:30. I mean, they will set up before 9, but they have requested the guests to be there by 9:30
Okay.
at Fairmont.
Yes. Do you know, Amy, if is the library staff doing anything during that?
Community outreach and somebody from customer services will be there.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what they're planning, but I let them know that we would have at least probably one or two volunteers from the trustees there, and they were quite happy about that. So.
Okay. Look forward.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, could you let us know if Malvika, could you let us know if the food bank needs volunteers, so we know,
I will.
if needed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I'll get back in touch and send an email right away.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is reports.
Okay. I noted that you met with Leggett and their subs on the 28th of August to look at the 50% design. We're meeting with them again tomorrow to look at changes they've made since that meeting. So, Lexi and Emily did some serious shelf counting and capacity counting, especially in the youth services area. So we need to be making some additional changes in that configuration to make sure we have enough room for the collection. They have come up with some things that are nice in terms of some cost savings. We talked about extending the airlock, the entryway, so that we wouldn't get so much cold air blasting in the building when both doors are open at the same time. And they really, now that they've really taken a close look at it, they don't think that we need to physically change the configuration of that, but that they can resolve the issue if we simply update the technology that opens and closes the doors. So that should be a nice cost savings to us. Happy about that. The air handler project, IMEG is the engineering firm that was contracted to work on the design for that. And they've indicated that they've nearly completed their design. In the meantime, right at this point, there's been a change in the city project manager. The project manager that was working with us isn't with the city anymore, so we're waiting word on who will be assigned to that project with us working going forward. We do feel that there's some time sensitivity to that project because of the long lead time they have, because they'll need to custom build the air handlers for us. So we're anxious to get that project finished and out for bids so that they can start doing that, so that we actually have it installed by the time next summer rolls around. So we're concerned about that. CIP budget requests for the city are due just before the next board meeting. So I'll likely be sending some information out to trustees about what the projects are that we hope to make requests for. The budget kickoff for city budget for fiscal 2021 was held September 5th. And I guess the news that I have for that, though Marion might have more information, is that right now we've not been asked to look at any kind of cut, which is excellent news for us. So, and I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions. Yeah.
What is, you've probably gone for this before, what is the 50% design?
So that's, I don't know, I guess architect contractors speak for like how far along they feel they are in terms of the completion of the design.
They didn't cut something in half.
No. So this is
Okay.
the progress that they've made
Okay.
through being done with design.
And it's kind of like, do you like this? We'll go forward. So it's a commitment in some ways to have their time to say, yeah, this is good. I'm dealing with that with the railroad. 30%, 50%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Next item on the agenda, reports. Marion, you have anything for us today? Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, and I'm sorry I'm late. I started to the wrong library and then I got stuck behind the train. I'm very sorry, I'm a creature. I knew I was at a library and I went toward the Eastern and I went, wait a minute, this is not firm. So I apologize. So it's kind of, there's not, I guess there's not anything really big in front of council. It's sort of business as usual, I think. Just a couple of things though. I haven't heard anything about the budget looking grim, but I might not have heard. So that's, but I haven't heard anything that way either. So, I wanted to let you guys know, and I think we talked about this before, but last year there was one new historic district downtown, and then the second starts kind of at the library and goes west, is nearing completion. It's nearing its first submission into the state process. So that's really good. So that'll be 2 new historic districts, which we didn't have before. And so that's rolling along pretty well. I'm kind of in contact with that consultant. That's being done through the downtown partnership. And of course, then everybody's sort of in election mode right now too, I think. So, but it's fairly quiet right now, I would say, at City Council.
What are the benefits of being a historic district?
Benefits are that the owners can access historic tax credits much more easily. If without that, they have to go through the process if they want federal to get to the federal level of getting a property listed in the National Register, which can cost multiples of thousands, could cost them $10,000. So this reduces, by doing a district, this reduces the costs, the barriers to entry for property owners. So it really makes it so they don't have to prove that, because buildings become contributing structures in a district. So also their level of how, intact they are may be a little less than, I'll give you an example. I worked on 2 projects on East 2nd Street, the Nelson building, which is finished, and there was no district then. So we had to do, I found someone to do I don't do National Register nominations, do tax credits. And so anyway, so he had to do that to get that building, and they said, yes, they believe the National Register, National Park Service says, yes, we think it's eligible for individual listing in that case for that building. And so then they would have had to continue with the expense of getting that done, which is very meticulous. The same with the Bucktown, that was found not to be eligible for individual listing in the National Register because there had been changes to the building and there had been bad mortar and there had been stuff done to the top of it. And so it would not have been eligible on its own for federal historic tax credits. These are very important to rehabilitation of any kind. So with now East 2nd Street being a district, it is eligible as a contributing structure within a district because the qualifications are, it's more about the district than it is the individual building. So that is a real prime example of why a district is helpful and can help buildings that perhaps have lost some of their integrity. Does that make sense?
Does the library building itself fall into the district?
I think it
I think we're in the district and
Right.
be in as a contributor.
And how old do you have to be before?
50 years is for consideration. It doesn't mean you'll get interest for 50 years, but you have to be, unless it's an extremely significant structure, it has to be 50 years old, like the bridge that JFK's car went under didn't have to be 50 years old.
I guess I'm wondering, does the library qualify that?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and I think there's some, like, the city historic resource development program, their historic preservation funds, potentially we could then apply for, with matching for that.
Right.
So there might be some other, we don't get tax credits because we're a.
Right.
Right. But we could.
Sometimes
But
there's
there might be
state
some
funding
grant.
that is attached to it.
Yeah,
So
there might be some grant opportunities where you have to be listed or some.
Exactly.
in order to
yeah,
apply.
so it doesn't require listing in the National Register does not require permission of a local HPC for changes to the exterior. It does not require permission in Davenport. The only things that do are local landmarks or local buildings in local historic districts. In my neighborhood and Annie Whittemire are the only local districts. So, those are that's the distinction. So, but if you want tax credits, you're not able to do whatever you want with the building. You have to follow certain guidelines. So that's the restriction comes when you want the tax credits. So, anyway, so that should be coming along, and that is, I think, good news. And it's all, most of this is driven by economic development. It's not altruism necessarily. People are interested in attracting this economic development. So.
Does anyone on electronically have any questions for Marion? Okay, moving on. Let's see. Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. First item is a motion to approve closing all 3 library locations on Thursday, February 27th, 2020 for annual staff training day. May I have a motion in that regard?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And thank you, Chris.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
I'm hoping it's not 33 below. No.
Okay.
Where is the training this year?
We're going to use the same space that we used last year at the urban campus for Scott Community College.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be sharing the day this year with the staff from Rock Island Public Library.
Oh, okay. Let's see, last year was Moline, is that correct? Pardon? Yes. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve closing all 3 library locations on Thursday, February 27th, 2020 for the annual staff training day, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next item, there's two parts there. One is discussion of library programming policy. We'll take that one up first. I was in the packet that Casey sent out. This is just for discussion. Okay, yeah, this is just for discussion, so any comments or items to discuss on the programming policy?
I guess does staff have any recommendations or changes to what we have?
We talked about it, I don't think we had any things that we thought needed to be updated
Okay.
at this point.
Any of you folks on electronically have any comments or questions about the programming policy?
No.
Okay, hearing none. The only comments I had was, I really like that you started off with the mission. Okay, in the paragraph that starts, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth paragraph starts I'm sorry, the one before that. In order to prepare a program schedule. That's a long sentence. That paragraph is one sentence. And I was wondering if it might be better to break that up. I had to read it a couple times. Anyway, just a suggestion.
Okay, we'll take a look and see what we can do with that.
If the first, perhaps, okay, there may be a better way to do it, but if it were 3 sentences, the first one being, in order to prepare a program schedule that reflects the diversity of the city of the world, presenters demonstrated qualifications, expertise, and reputation, and then add are considered. And then picking up, periods, and then next sentence would be requests from individuals to present programs, including author readings and signings, are also considered, period. And then I was going to say all programming will be weighed against, and then the rest of the sentence, against the library's budget and other allocated resources and the public's demonstrated interest in the topic.
You care the future isn't that embarrassing.
Gonna dive in, that's.
Yeah. Boy, it definitely is.
Oh, God.
I just hate it because oftentimes I
Who's gonna cover
I
this?
read something terrible. It's like a whole paragraph. It's like, who in the hell wrote this?
No, proofreading.
Yes.
That's
Really hard.
And just one other comment, in the next paragraph, the last sentence that says attendance at some library-sponsored programs may be restricted to specific age groups, considering that, and then the next sentence, which is no case will attendance at a program be limited because of the content of the program, because the content of the program may be controversial. Are those?
So they go with Heather.
Yeah, those in conflict, or is content and age two distinctly different things?
I think we looked at those as two distinctly different things. We wanted to say that for some library-sponsored programs, if we advertise something as a teen program, we don't necessarily want
Kids, little kids.
or adults there.
Yeah, oh, I see, okay.
So that's where we run into that. You know, if you're dropping your child off and your child is a 7th grader and you expect that there's going to be a whole bunch of other, 6th to 9th graders there, because that's the age group that the program's advertised for. We don't want then, to have some 28, 29-year-olds there, because that doesn't seem like that's appropriate in terms of what the expectation is that we've created for parents with their children.
It's specifically geared to people under the age of maturity. I mean, looking at when you're saying
Correct.
age,
Right.
which makes sense.
Right. And in some adult programs, it might not be appropriate to have young children there who are not attended by a parent, you know. So if a parent says, you know, yeah, this is an adult topic, but I'm okay with having my, you know, 12-year-old in attendance, that's okay. But depending on what it is, we might say that an unattended 8-year-old is probably perhaps not going to be. I don't know.
Do you have,
That's kind of what.
do you reserve the right, and I know this is sticky in a library situation, it just promotes openness altogether, but do you have anything in your policy that allows you to say, you're not doing that here? And I'll, you know, if, say, trying to think of different things that would be extremes of that, like someone wanted to, I have a program that promoted white supremacy or any kind of racial supremacy. You know, that was their, I mean, pick it, I don't care what it is. Would you, under this policy, could you say to those people, or say someone wanted to promote something illegal? Now that could be anything from, at this point in Iowa, smoking marijuana to, you know, things more unsavory. Do you have the right under this policy to say no? Or is the libraries, and perhaps this is correct, it's that the library is open for all?
So this policy really talks about programs that are library sponsored or co-sponsored programs.
Okay.
So what you're talking about is really covered under
Use of public meetings.
use of the public meeting rooms.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and the meeting rooms are public forums. So constitutionally protected speech is protected there.
Okay.
So if a group such as, you know, whatever, you know, booked our meeting rooms and went through our process, we would need to let them use the meeting rooms.
I guess, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion?
So
Amy,
Yes.
Amy, just a mention, when we advertise our programs online, that is Facebook or Twitter or any place else, as well as when we put our programs on the library calendar, which is there online, we also most of the time mention the age group, correct? That this program is for such and such ages, right? We also do that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was all.
Okay, thank you.
and
Okay, Tom?
these will come forward to us to vote on next month.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the other policy then, the use of public meeting rooms. Any questions or comments regarding those?
Again, was there anything from staff about changes?
We were looking at adding some variety of statement that indicates that only the designated public meeting rooms can be used for library meetings or events, to ensure that those are the spaces that remain our public forums. Because otherwise we could find ourselves being required to host a group that says, you know, we really like that fireplace area, and this group, you know, was not a library sponsored program. They used it, so now we want to use it. So we wanted to just kind of clarify that particular statement, that the public meeting room spaces are our public forums, and so that only those spaces can be used and booked for non-library events.
I think that's a good idea.
So,
Insert that somewhere.
yeah, and I going through the state library website, looking for information on how and they deal with the concept of public forms. I did learn one thing that either I had forgotten, which is that caucus space is one of the things that we're required to make our meeting rooms available for. So that was interesting.
Right, yeah, because we're a publicly funded building. Caucuses are required to provide those spaces free of charge.
Yeah, so we did,
Caucus.
we did host caucuses here at Fairmont in 2015. Whenever it was caucuses last happened.
Would have been 2016.
16. And it was a bit of a challenge in terms of, again, that public forum space, because they were, it was very crowded over here in the meeting rooms. And we got a lot of requests for, well, can we have our little group kind of go over here in the library now? And we were like, no, we can't.
Stay here, respect. And those pockets get pretty rowdy.
Yeah.
Extension into the parking lot.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Are the meeting rooms ever rented out for private use for a charge?
No, they're not. We've talked about that a number of times. And we just feel that the extra paperwork and tracking of that is probably not worth the staff time for us. And we have enough usage of people who are looking for it for nonprofit use. So.
Yeah, along that same line, didn't we at one time actually for like businesses, they could meet there for a fee? We never did that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we talked about it for private parties and for businesses, like birthday parties and things like that. And then we just decided that was not just
That's real.
kind of be worth it.
Messier than caucuses even.
Yeah.
Costing all over.
Okay. So maybe that answers the next question. Can people sell things?
It says
No.
not for profit.
There we go.
Okay. Okay. I also have a question about it says the meeting room. So I think should
Oh, we
make
need
that
to,
there.
yes.
And then kind of all the way through, it has that similar flavor.
Okay. So we'll take
And then question about, it talks about in different places about nonprofit organizations, and then other places it talks about individuals, and in one place it talks about individuals and organizations. So,
Pick one, right?
yeah, yeah,
You could say organizations, like number 3, as easy as individuals.
so, or individual or nonprofit organization, or individual. So organization, I don't know if there probably are for-profit, well, a business, I guess, would be a for-profit organization.
You could say individual / organization.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
because we
nonprofit.
do let, so say for example that the study rooms here at Fairmont were in use, but this space was available. A patron could then, on a walk-in basis say, well, there aren't any study rooms available, could I just use the meeting room as a study room?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, good example. Okay,
You could say then is available to any not-for-profit organization or patron, right? But that fits into maybe for-profit. No, that's good. Because that's an unusual. I want to sell Mary Kay.
Yeah.
Clean up after myself.
In item number 4, the general public must be eligible to attend. I wonder if maybe the word allowed was
Okay.
better. And that led me to wonder about, so regardless of why a person, or say an individual wanted to have a meeting, they have to allow anybody in? I guess that's what it says. So if, I guess it may be a weird example, but suppose a person wanted to have their neighborhood watch group have a meeting. It seems like that would fit. And they want to have this meeting to set their strategy of how they're going to protect their neighborhood. They have to let anybody attend, even the bad guys.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's hard and fast.
They don't have to let them speak, but they have to let them attend.
Yeah,
Sometimes they just
if
speak
we're
anything.
publicly funded, you can't restrict who is allowed in.
Okay, just checking.
Make them feel better.
No, and it seems like something that would be problematic because we get, Girl Scout troops and a lot of that, and we just have really never had an issue.
Yeah, well, most of the information about the meeting is probably so sparse that nobody else would know.
Yeah, because we don't advertise any of these, we put our, on our daily calendar out there, so when people come in, they can find a meeting, but, we don't provide any marketing.
Let's see. I wonder too, in item 7, it talks about all groups using the library meeting room must comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act and are responsible for providing qualified interpreters
Or,
or auxiliary aids if requested. I guess, is there a, I guess one, is there some expectation of advance notice of that? And 2, does the library have a list of who provides those services? So if someone came in and said, I'd like to this meeting, and we say, well, you have to have an interpreter if somebody requested, or, do they get any help with that?
yeah, we really just leave that up to the organization. I mean, if they requested auxiliary hearing aids, so we have those available through the speaker systems
Okay,
of all
sure.
of the locations. But in terms of a sign language interpreter, something like that, they're on their own.
Okay.
And I guess the question too is, I'm not sure what the Americans with Disabilities Act requires in terms of meetings. I don't think it requires that any public library have an interpreter.
Well,
Yeah,
it kind of-
I mean, I think-
isn't it more physical?
Yeah, I think what we're saying is that if you're having a meeting,
Right.
it's up to you to make sure that you're
Library's not
meeting
responsible.
whatever the
Yes.
requirements are, and that
The
we're
context of the
responsible.
meeting. But it doesn't really say that. It seems to say, if you're gonna meet here, you have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which infers that there is some requirement, and let's take neighborhood groups. I'm not sure there's any requirement within, that's all I'm saying. It seems to state something that may not be. Are we really, isn't what you're really trying to say about this is, if you for your meeting, want a qualified interpreter or auxiliary aid, it is up to you to find this person. Isn't that really what this is saying? This almost
Yeah.
would, if I read this as a group, perhaps, as a neighborhood group, I might go, oh, I can't afford that, or I don't know how to do that, and it may not be required. So it seems almost to read in a way, it almost reads to say that there's a requirement to do it and you're responsible for it. The person's responsible. Does that make sense? And I don't think,
I saw it as 2 separate things, because the first part of the sentence talks about groups must comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act and are responsible for providing qualified interpreters. Yeah, I don't know either.
and I'm not sure,
I mean,
I'm
those
not
should
sure
be
that's true.
requested.
I guess I'm not sure that's true.
Okay.
Like, I'm not sure my neighbor, I'm not sure my neighborhood association who has meetings in people's homes is required to make them accessible. So, I mean, I'm not arguing the need for this, understand, or the desirability to have
I
this.
don't think what this is addressing is the actual physical accessibility, which
That's one
In
of
term-
the,
In terms of a private home, I don't think the ADA applies to. But I think what this is talking about is specific workers or those kinds of things for people who need that assistance.
I understand, but this,
And I understand your point.
Right.
That
Mhm.
it kind of implies that the ADA requires that.
right.
I'm not sure, I agree with you, I'm not sure if it does.
And so that's, I'm just saying, I think
So
people
maybe
might,
just leave that part out.
well, I don't know, I don't know the answer because I don't know what it says about it.
I think it's worthwhile to state that you have to comply with ADA if you're in a building, because we had to comply with ADA when we built the damn building. So you have to comply with that. Now, what are the compliance requirements? God, I don't know.
I will check and see what other libraries are doing in terms of those kinds of statements, and perhaps what the state library might recommend with that.
Just say or instead of
Yeah.
And last question, if someone calls and said they wanted to book a meeting room, and I guess I looked and I didn't see it online, but just asked, did they get a copy of this?
I think the policy is online, isn't it?
It is online, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to book a meeting room online, there isn't anything that says, tells you what you have to comply with.
Do they have to read through this before they book it?
They do. Once they choose the day and time, the next screen at page 2 is a list of the guidelines, and you have to click I agree to move on.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah,
That's a good answer.
because actually while I was there, I noticed that I guess I didn't try to, but it looked like I couldn't book this meeting room for this time. No, hold on, I couldn't because it was the same day. Maybe that's what it was, but I couldn't, but if I went to the next day, I was trying to see how it works. Are there any questions from those who are on electronically or discussion about the use of public meeting rooms policy?
Okay, I do have one other question. I am not a not-for-profit organization, but I booked a meeting room and it was great to do my thesis.
So that's where we get the individual in there.
Good, so I'm an individual, okay, okay.
That's great.
Remote, yeah, thing, so.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll carry this on to the next meeting where we will have it on there for action item, both of these policies. Okay, next item is discussion of branch staffing and hours. Amy?
Yeah, so we've, continued to look at what are the options that we might have for extending the branch hours in particular. Looking at being open till 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday at all of our locations. So we would still be closed mornings here at the branches 2 mornings a week, but we would be able to be open until 8 o'clock at night. So one of the things is, before we take this too much further in terms of looking at schedules and things like that, is how does the board feel about us being open potentially? I'm not saying we can pull it off, but without providing full service. So without having a reference librarian available to provide that service to the patrons. So 5:30, the librarian would head home, and we would stay open with a caretaker and 3 customer services staff members or something like that. So we would not be providing full service at that point.
How did you people feel about doing that? Comfortable or not? Or?
I mean, I think providing additional hours of service, mostly that's not the primary thing that patrons are looking for at that particular point, though we certainly have created that expectation that anytime we're open, that all those services are available.
I guess I'd be fine with doing that, as long as, if when we show our hours, maybe we somehow can say, so people don't make a trip and find out somebody isn't here. And also perhaps, if there is a reference question, perhaps staff can take the question and tell them somebody, reference library will contact them next day or something, or some reasonable time.
Yeah, we would have a librarian working somewhere within the system, so that person might not be here at Fairmont, they might be downtown.
Okay,
So potentially somebody could call.
yeah, well, in that case, I guess they are available. They might be on site.
What is a caretaker?
Basically a custodian.
Would be a custodian and a library somewhere, a librarian somewhere.
So there'd be hopefully a custodian in the building that's open so that they can take care of closing and those kinds of things. We don't have a great answer for then who's considered the person in charge of the building in terms of patron complaints or some kind of, building emergency. We don't have a great answer for that.
So is the reference librarian?
So right now, that would be the librarian staff, takes that responsibility if there's not a supervisor present.
So I guess the goal would be to get all the libraries open until 8 o'clock at night. So
Correct, Monday through Thursday, yeah.
Monday through Thursday, they'd all be open until 8 o'clock. That would be a dream. I think almost everybody on the board has always wanted there to be consistency. So people don't have to think, okay, well, Fairmont is this, Eastern is this, Maine is this. You just think, well, at 7 o'clock at night, I can go to the library.
Well, and I think you have an example of this already. The Richardson their slum collection isn't open till 8 o'clock, correct?
Correct.
So if, so that's what I use at the library. I can't get to it at night. So, so I think it's not the first time that everything's not there. And maybe there is a way to say, research, whatever, staffed to make that.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, we definitely need to explore this, see how this might work.
Comments, questions from the folks that are on electronically?
Amy, thank you, Steve. Amy, did you say that there would be some reference librarians somewhere till 8 o'clock? Not in that building, but somewhere.
Yes, somewhere there would. Yes.
Somewhere. So, like, is there a possibility that we have chat with like how there is Mozio, which is the chat platform for librarians. So, is there a possibility that there is a chat icon on the website, maybe homepage or someplace, which could help them if they have an inquiry or a reference question?
I think the challenge with that, Malavika, is that there's an expectation there that there's somebody there right away who can respond.
Oh yeah.
And I
Right.
don't know if we can do that.
Right. That's true. Because then the button says, when the button says that, then that's, yeah. Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah.
So if the person, tied up helping somebody else for 20 minutes, then
There's not another person.
there's not somebody else there, yeah.
Now, Amy, at times they have that default text sometimes that will get back to you in 15. I mean, some of the chat texts have that default text within their platform, which says, depends. We'll get back to you in 15 minutes, or we'll get back to you in 30 minutes. I mean, just a thought that some places I've seen those default texts that come in.
Yeah, but we're not open 24 hours either.
Oh, that's true.
That might, someone's calling at
Yeah.
7:30.
No.
We can certainly take a look at it, but it's,
Yeah.
we still have the text to librarian option.
That's true. Text to librarian option. Maybe is that something then that needs to be highlighted so people don't say that at 5:30 you don't. We were used to having a reference librarian. We don't have one, and now I have a question at 6 o'clock. Highlighting the text to librarian functionality that we have.
Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, maybe you could draft up a proposal, I guess, or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, and we have, there's a labor management meeting on Thursday, and so we're gonna kind of start some preliminary discussion about that
Yeah, I'd
with
like to ask you about that also.
the bargaining
You have to
unit.
figure out how to work with it within your hours and staff, that sort of thing.
Right, and what's the appropriate position level of responsibility in terms of, you know, designating who's responsible, kind
Is it your
of
cost?
for the yeah, and is there additional cost involved with that or not?
Okay. And we'll look forward to seeing that on the road. Okay. The discussion of updates to the bylaws I'm putting off. The executive committee didn't finish our work yet. So in time to get it out to you other trustees for review in a reasonable time. So as it looks right now, I think what I'm probably going to do is put that on the agenda for November, possibly before, but possibly in October. But since we have talked about Amy's review, then we will probably want to put aside enough time for that. So it'll maybe on there tentatively, or will be on in November. But I will try to get that to you as soon as I get it finished, so that we can you can have as much time as possible to review. So the next item then is discussion of procedure for election of board officers. Executive committee also talked about this, and we did talk about this somewhat in a previous meeting, but just wanted to see if there was any more discussion about it. I'd be particularly interested in how it may be handled with other boards or commissions that you other trustees may be involved with. So I guess as we talked about it at the executive committee, it seemed like there were 2 or 3 options. One would be kind of a succession plan where the president, vice president, and secretary would be the line of succession, so that it would be when the president's term expired, then the vice president would take the president's position, and the secretary would move up to being the vice president. And one of the problems with that is that then you have to make sure that the people in those positions' terms line up with how long they're going to be on the board. So that's a little bit of a problem there. And another possibility is to, have a nominating committee, which a lot of organizations do. And so that's another way. And the other one would just be to, just have people volunteer to be candidates. So don't know how it's handled. If you're on another board or commission that has addressed this, appreciate any discussion you have about what you think works best.
Steve, Steve Malavika here.
Yes.
I'm on the Affirmative Action Commission of the city, and we have an informal process, but we also are a very smaller group comparatively compared to us here. So it's really informal. It's kind of just open to discussion at a given meeting when it's time for nomination, and and person just almost volunteers, you could say. It's sometimes it's volunteering, sometimes someone says, why don't you do it, kind of a situation. So it's very, very informal.
So it's by nomination.
It's not there.
Kind of, but not necessarily. It's not formal at all. It's very informal. So, why don't you do it, kind of a thing. So it's nothing formally nominating anybody.
All in favor, please say aye.
So that's how it works there. But we are a little smaller group than what we are, and we just have a president, chairman, and a vice chair to that group. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any others? Any others?
No, none.
Okay, thought I heard someone say something, but maybe not.
That was me, Maggie.
Oh, okay, you have something you wanted to add?
No, I had no commentary.
Okay, okay, thank you. Well, okay, if there's no other discussion on that, we'll think of something. Okay. Yeah, we'll go with something to propose then. Okay, so we have no old business. I guess I just want to mention that library, things going on in the libraries everywhere. Next week is Banned Books Week, the 22nd through the 28th. And it's kind of interesting. If you are in any of the libraries, at least Maine, I don't know if does Fairmont have a display? You know?
I think there's one in each location.
Yeah, there should be one or might be one in each location of books that have been banned. And it's kind of interesting what some of the titles are. So encourage everybody to check those out and maybe even read one and see what you think. So anyway.
Did you say this week?
Pardon?
Did you say this week?
The 22nd through the 28th.
Okay, thanks.
But those displays are available now. I saw the one down at Maine and saw some books on there like To Kill a Mockingbird. And,
But you can't,
yeah.
but you can't check on Ben, there wouldn't be anything on the table to see.
Oh, sure, you can check them out. Yeah, yeah.
I'll disappear unless anywhere.
Well, that'd be a great
Oh, that'd
thing.
be fine.
Yeah, that'd be good.
They got all banned again.
No, it's popular. Okay, I guess if there's nothing else to come before this forum, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for taking your time to participate in the meeting. If you have any comments, those of you that are on electronically, if you have any comments on how I can improve this, let me know. It's a little bit getting used to, but keep working at it. So appreciate your taking the time to attend. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.